What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Spoiler Alert for Four Stick or Fantastic Four. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Fantastic Four, don't need no more.
Yes, and Anthony Nash.
Hello, how is everybody?
I really wanted to have four of us today, but it just didn't happen because not enough people went to go see this movie.
Who's the thing? Who would be the thing?
Yeah, it would be. What a revolt development this is. So yeah, the Fan Four Stick is out, and yeah. By the way, this isn't really much of a spoiler alert. If you've seen the trailers, you've seen the entire movie.
You know what's gonna happen.
Spoil. There's nothing to spoil. They're
They're
really
fantastic, and there's four of them.
It's like in the trail. The only thing that they kind of kept the wraps on is fucking Dr. Doom.
Wait, the crash test dummy.
Yeah, the crash test dummy.
Yeah, he looked real stupid.
The green.
He was pretty cool though. Like his powers are pretty cool.
I was we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I was impressed with the amount of violence that came out of Dr. Doom.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
That whole scene was pretty. I was like, wow, okay, like this is kind of cool.
All right, so
dumb.
Yeah. But yeah, a little bit of a setup. So yeah, this movie is not based on the original Fantastic Four. It's based on the Ultimate Fantastic Four. That's why they get their powers through a teleportation accident, and they kind of had like that tone that Ultimate Fantastic Four has, that kind of serious kind of tone.
Yeah, and all the team of the whole team is actually very young.
Yes.
Mr. Fantastic, and for all intents and purposes, was just out of high school. The way they're doing it in this one.
Yeah,
so,
he didn't look like the professor from Gilligan's Island.
No, which there is. I forgot the name of the show, but there's this one dude that looks literally like the professor from Gilligan's Island. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, yeah, he.
Yes, this is going to be a very interesting spoiler. So yeah, normally we just give you our quick little like intro and that what we thought, and then we jump into it. Let's just jump right into it. Yeah, this movie was a mess. It really was. It was trying to be two different movies at once, and they didn't gel right.
I feel like a lot of this probably came because the rumor said that they've said that this movie had gone through like 40 different retakes.
Yeah,
so they've reshot the film like 40 different times. So I'm like, what was the movie like?
Well,
what was originally intended? I almost feel like, what was there?
I think what was going on is I think the director, because Josh Trank, he directed this movie. He tweeted out like, "Hey, if you guys would have seen the version of the movie I made a year ago, it would have gotten better reviews." And then he immediately deleted it. But of course, the internet.
I think there's some truth to that.
It probably is. I think, Nash, I think you and I were talking about this, where basically I think it was a vicious cycle. The director had a vision, right, for the movie. Mm-hmm. Fox wanted it to be a specific way, then he became upset and became kind of deranged or whatever, and then they were like, okay, we need to, because apparently Fox was trying to protect him from all the crazy shit that was going on because people were talking about him, and they were trying to protect him, but now that he tweeted that out, now they're just saying, yeah, he's a fucking nut. So I think go ahead.
There's like the two different movies thing. I mean, you could see the first part of the movie. I thought was actually decent. Like the pre them becoming superheroes, I think was actually like a pretty okay movie. And that was probably Josh Trank's version of the movie, where it was just like grounded in science and like not like grounded in science, but it was sci-fi. It had a little like thriller drama-esque version of the movie, and then after that it was just like a race to the finish, and it was pretty much downhill from there.
Yeah, like basically, it was trying to be more, it was actually a science fiction movie, and then after they became the Fantastic Four, it became like body horror, like David Cronenberg type stuff. Really cool. The only thing is, even with all of that said, there were still problems. Like mainly, like I said, the dialogue to me was really kind of wooden. Like it maybe okay, it was wooden, and also just the lines themselves just seemed very boring and generic. They didn't really like say anything. Like they just said a bunch of like one-liners that you would expect, from a cheesy sci-fi movie.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing was like, man, not like what was his name, Baxter?
Franklin Richards.
Yes,
Franklin Storm. Yeah,
Franklin Storm. Jesus Christ, that guy! Literally every single thing he said was just like words of wisdom. I'm like, oh fuck, this guy's gonna die right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just like a
He's not gonna
proper
be
machine.
in Fantastic Four 2. He's just like everything's like, you have to think about the future. You gotta refix up what we have messed up. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, oh come on, man. We could have just painted dead on your head.
Yeah, with me, it seemed like every single line he said was like he was saying it for the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it seemed like. So yeah, like even the good stuff of the movie, the sci-fi and the body horror was still tainted by the stupid dialogue, which is bad because the actors were really good.
I thought the cast was really well chosen, and like a lot of people didn't like the chemistry, but I thought they fit pretty well.
Yeah, the chemistry wasn't there at all. It was non-existent, which is ironic because it's a movie about family. They didn't feel like a family, but the individual characters were fine. To me, this was almost a Brandon Routh Superman situation. Brandon Routh was a really good Superman. He was just in a shitty Superman movie. This is the same case. These characters are good versions of those characters. They're just in a bad movie. But anyway, and it's wasted. That's the theme of the movie. I felt it wasted potential. It had so much potential to be so much more than it actually became.
Yeah.
And it's a good example of what happens when the studio and the director don't see eye to eye. This is what happens.
I mean, we could have just let him make his version of the Fantastic Four as opposed to just kind of, going in there like, well, you need to do this and you should set up for a sequel and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Nash. The only problem?
My only problem with, even before I saw the movie, like before it was officially out, I saw a lot of people comparing it to, you had people comparing it to the Batman and Robin movie.
Which is ridiculous.
It had lower scores and like pixels on Rotten Tomatoes, and even after seeing it, I really don't believe that that's true. Like, I don't believe that it's like the worst comic book movie ever.
No,
I don't believe that it's worse than. I think it's better than a lot of other comic book movies, prior to like the Marvel Universe being created. I don't think anything this year coming out is worse than Pixels.
Yeah, well, Pixels, not talking about that movie. That's probably the worst movie in the last who knows how many years.
Yeah.
People are already talking about it's going to kill Adam Sandler's career. I hope it does because Adam Sandler needs to go away. He's terrible.
Man, I don't know. Adam Sandler's had a lot of movies that you'd think that would happen, but that's another spoiler alert.
Yeah, I'm right. In a parallel universe because we won't be covering that fucking movie.
No, but yeah, I don't know. Like the movie up until. What was weird is that they get hit by the cosmic rays and they come back, and then it gets kind of weird because it has like the body horror where you see what's his name, Johnny, like just constantly on fire, and like that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
and,
I like that.
Ben like trapped, like he wasn't even like the Thing, he was kind of like trapped in rock, but like still there, and stuff was kind of cool. And then they just jump a year ahead for no reason.
For no reason. I like that whole scene where he was.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I like that whole scene where he was like begging Reed for help and stuff. That whole section was cool, and even Reed's body looked all fucked up and distorted.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, he leaves for a year just to cause dramatic tension. There was no.
That's when I was like, oh. Okay.
To be honest, I mean, they could have just played that off, or like if he just stayed there and they're working toward like, the way it kind of goes, right, is like. Doom, he's one of their colleagues. He gets stuck on that planet, an alternate dimension.
Planet Zero,
which is the stupidest name ever. They could have just called it Unobtainium or some dumber.
Call it the negative zone. Shit.
You could just call it the negative zone. You could just put that in there, and then Dr. Doom. Okay, he gets stuck on the planet, and you think he's dead. They could have done so many things. Dr. Doom did not need to be the villain of this film. To be honest, you have two things that are potentially threaten, one thing that's going to potentially threaten the Earth. Why couldn't it be the fact that they fucked up also caused that negative zone thing to cause some sort of black hole or whatever the hell they said was going to happen if Reed had done everything wrong?
Yeah,
and that is the ultimate thing they need to stop, as opposed to being Dr. Doom again.
Yeah, I mean, we could get into that now because that's the thing. Watching this movie, I'm like, you don't need the whole thing with Dr. Doom. You could have cut that out completely. Why do you need to have a the heroes versus a villain. They weren't even heroes. They were like, hey, we don't have powers. We have a condition. They shouldn't have treated them like superheroes at all. It should have been like, hey, we went to the negative zone. Remember, they even mentioned it. It's like, hey, you built this thing like out of scrap metal. You could have fucking built, created a black hole. What if they did create a black hole and that becomes the main thing they need to overcome? Right. Then as that's happening, you get more character shit out of them. Yeah. You know?
I mean, you could still have the conflict between Reed and Ben, because officially, if you want to go with the way they did it, where it's like Ben was mostly not in the film until that one moment, where he calls him up, hey, you want to go to an alternate dimension. I mean, you could use that to your advantage. Like, listen, man, I know we talk all the time, but all of a sudden you call me out of this thing and you make me go into this system that you didn't officially test on any sort of human being. And look at me now. None of that was ever played out.
Well, they could have done that with Doom, really. I feel like Doom starting out as a psychopath and then going even crazier was kind of silly, because they could have made him seem like somebody that maybe just feels betrayed because he thinks everybody left him there.
That's what I was expecting. I expected them to be like, "Hey, you left me here. What the hell?" He didn't. It wasn't none of that. None of that was there.
Well, no, they kind of foreshadowed that when he was saying like, "We don't deserve this planet." Like, you knew where his motivation was coming from.
No, but still, it's just kind of went from like just saying it in passing to like, "I'm so evil." Yeah. Like, really? Like, he didn't strike me as he struck me as somebody who was off kilter, but not anywhere to the point where it could just be supervillain levels. And literally, he just burst into supervillain levels as soon as he got into that hospital. How they should officially, they could have just never let him come back.
No, and it's sad too, because
if they really wanted to, you could bring him back, and he's not evil.
Yeah, well, why does he need to villain? And I was saying it was sad because his design was stupid. He looked dumb, but he himself was kind of cool. Like, once he became Doom, like the scene, like we said, the scene where he walks down the hallway and kills everybody. Yeah. And like when he's fighting them, it's kind of cool, but he just looks so stupid.
It looks stupid, and then there's just like there's really no. It's kind of uncalled for. It's like all of a sudden he's just a cackling supervillain. It's like, how did that happen? I mean, to be honest,
just because he was on that planet for a year, maybe he mentally went crazy.
Yeah, he mentally went crazy. But the thing is, at the same time, it's like it's still out of nowhere.
It is out of nowhere. Then they could have easily said, "Hey, that green shit went into him, and that's why he's fucked up like that." They could have said that.
Even then, I feel like there's not enough time for whatever to happen. To me, it really should have just been like, even if they did get they did get him back, I feel like they should have just let it. He shouldn't have been the villain of the piece.
There shouldn't have been a villain.
The movie didn't really need a villain. What would have been cool is if the main villain or whatever, main conflict of the film was something that they created themselves, which was the negative zone. Opening that door to the negative zone.
Mm-hmm. And the crappy thing is, even if the movie, like, let's say in a hypothetical world, or like somehow, some way, like Fox is like, you know what, we're gonna do a sequel anyway. This crappy thing is now you have to come up with a reason for why Dr. Doom is alive, because just like every comic book movie that is out, they murder him at the end.
Yeah, it's like I always say, why are you killing the villain?
Fox only has like 3 villains. Right, for the Fantastic Four, they have Galactus, Doom, and maybe some other people, but those are the 2 big ones. And then you kill one in the first movie.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, because they can't use Claw, for example. Yeah. They can't use Ronan the Accuser. All these characters are being used by Marvel now. And the other thing that kind of annoyed me was they didn't play up the fact that it's like, okay, they're being used as weapons of war in America's foreign wars. That could have been a really cool plot line. They could have invested in.
They could have explored that a little too.
They really could have. It's like, hey, it's like you guys are using us for this, and like I told Mandy, you could have potentially had a conflict if you need a conflict between them and the U.S. government. It's like, okay, we don't want to do this shit for you, and they go off and they try to capture them.
What's funny is that's basically how the movie ends. They just kind of jump to that point at the end where they're like, all right, guys, we're gonna keep this relationship, right? And they're like, no, we're not. But why couldn't instead of jumping forward a year? you could have had like Reed break everybody out or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of like like you said, you could have kept Doom in there for this in the Planet Zero, whatever they called it. You could have kept him there for the sequel, and then he comes back in the sequel and becomes Doctor Doom.
Yeah, you don't need him for this. You introduce him as Victor. He gets lost in the negative zone, and that's it. You don't see him for the rest of the movie, and the conflict with the government goes, and again, you could have it could have been like this, like they escape from the government, but this shit's still happening, so they're trying to fix it, because the government's not trying to, they're like, oh, nothing. A movie's bad when you could make up a better fucking movie yourself.
Well, and that's the sad thing is because, we probably, and maybe like once Josh Trank comes out of hiding or decides to really, really talk about it, we'll never know what like his actual vision for the movie was.
Yeah,
I guess we can see it in the beginning because it's like the sci-fi movie. I mean, if his vision was that the beginning of the movie, it probably would have been a better movie.
Yeah,
he's probably right in that.
Yeah, because it's not like this guy's like a bad director. Apparently, like I haven't seen Chronicle, but everyone is like
Chronicle was like a superhero movie.
Yeah, it was, and
it was cool.
And it was critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, he's not a bad director. It's just I'm pretty sure it was Fox like, make it a superhero movie. It's like, no, I want to make it a sci-fi movie.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: the dude who wrote the screenplay for Chronicle, his name is Max Landis. He's done some like comic book stuff, and I think
he's John Landis' son?
Yeah,
no?
He is. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
He wrote the script for Chronicle, and he was on Twitter yesterday because he pitched Fantastic Four. Also, like he wrote a pitch for Fantastic Four, but he was talking about how when they did Chronicle, it wasn't an indie movie because it was like backed by like Warner Brothers or whatever, but it was so small and like the budget was so low that like the studio didn't really care about it, so they didn't come in and tell them how to make the movie. They just made it however they wanted to. Mm-hmm. So his thinking was like this was probably Josh Trank's first real interaction with like how the film industry really is, like how they're really hands-on. So he was probably used to like just doing whatever he wanted to. But with like a big movie like this, they were probably like real hands-on, and he just wasn't used to it.
Yeah, I mean the same thing happened with Edward Wright. With Ant-Man. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He had a specific movie in mind, but Marvel wanted him to do a bunch of changes, and he was like, "That's it, I'm leaving."
Right.
Same exact situation. Only the thing is with Marvel. Marvel has a better infrastructure set up, so they could bring in a replacement and still have the movie be good. And this one, Fox isn't set up the way Marvel is. They don't have Kevin Feige. They don't have a figure like that at all.
Yeah, and I think I was telling you earlier, I think Josh Trank also probably left, or they just decided to like move away from Star Wars because he was still working with the same producer who produced Fantastic Four. So he just probably wanted none of whatever was happening over there. And just quit and ran into the woods.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. It's the other thing. It's like now I'm gonna feel like there's a short spoiler because there's not much to say about the movie.
And it's sad because the movie was like it was bad, but it wasn't like garbage bad because it had potential.
Yeah, there was some
to the movie.
There were some things in there that was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Okay, that's cool, and I just felt like that it just never paid off on any of those levels. It's just like, oh, here we go. It's like literally, it's like they just signed the superhero, like it's like the old superhero movie tropes just came out as soon as they got into that place, as soon as Dr. Doom came back, and I was like,
that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the special effects because the special effects were bad. Like it was like
horrible.
Like especially Reed Richards, he had the worst one.
Here's the problem, though. I think also with all the damn retakes that they had to do on this film, that also meant that they had to do retakes on special effects.
That's true.
So,
like for example, the Thing looked okay, but then when you had him next to people, he looked completely off.
A lot of people say he looked like a cartoon.
Yeah, and then like even the green screen in the movie was bad too. So maybe you're right. With so many retakes and reshoots, you couldn't really put too much into the special effects. So the special effects were bad. They were like 90s bad. Like especially like I said, especially Reed Richards, he looked the worst. Even Johnny Storm kind of looked like a cartoon too.
To be honest, I thought when they did the flame on him looked really good. Yeah, I thought that was the one thing that looked good, but like whenever they showed him talking in the fire,
that's the problem.
Yeah, that's the part where he kind of looked a little goofy.
Bright eyes, yeah, he had a bunch of weird everything.
And then there's Doctor Doom, who looked like a fucking like green crash test dummy. That was the worst.
Yeah, he was real bad. I don't know how they I don't know why they. I mean, I guess in their story it makes sense that like his suit fused to his skin, so he just basically.
They couldn't even have his mouth light up when he talked. He was just like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the part with their spacesuits, even though it looks very similar to what was in the comics, kind of. That suit that they had, their spacesuits.
Yeah.
I also felt like their spacesuits covered their faces up too much. So it was just like they're pantomiming everything. You see their eyes and everything move around, but then they're just like, oh, you gotta get out of here. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. Oh, yeah, I lost my. Oh yeah, Manny brought this up. That cloak he's wearing, there was no other cloth around. He's literally wearing the fucking American flag.
The American flag on him.
He's wearing
the American flag. That was the only piece of cloth in that place, and it wasn't his spacesuit because they've obviously said, "Oh, the spacesuit fused to your body."
Yeah, well, he's representing for America, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
Dr. America.
I found that very funny. I guess just to close this thing out, what's going to happen with the franchise? Nash, I know you and I kind of disagree. I think
if you change your opinion to Fox will try to sell it, I would say probably. But I don't think they're just going to give it away. Because I think
I don't think they're
going to give it away. The thing is that the way their contract works is if they continue to make Fantastic Four films, they can keep the rights to the film.
Well, that's what I mean. If they're not making a movie, you're essentially giving the franchise away. I think they'll probably go to Marvel and be like, "Do you want it?" Or like, "I'm." Like,
you think they're gonna give it to them on a discount?
No, I don't. To be honest, I don't think. You know what? Listen, Marvel didn't need to buy back Ghost Rider. Marvel didn't need to buy Punisher or Daredevil. Those companies just said, "Oh well, whatever."
Manny, not those companies. Fox. All those were Fox movies.
So.
They gave them all up, and like I said, this is my reasoning for it. And I think what's going to happen is it's going to quietly go back to Marvel. Why? Because the only way Fox is going to keep this franchise is if they make another sequel. That's not going to happen. Shit, you just heard a report that because the Fantastic Four sequel was supposed to come out in 2017, now that's getting swapped for the Deadpool sequel. Fox is not making any more of these movies. It made $11 million. On fucking Friday. It's not going to make... I doubt this...
We walked into a theater that was literally empty, almost empty.
There was 10 people.
10 people watching the film.
That's the thing I think, because... And I think I was talking to you about it, Tony, is that the movie itself, like the characters themselves, like even now, because Marvel kind of canceled the comics because even they weren't selling that well, is that like compared to like Spider-Man and the Avengers and like Deadpool and Batman and all those, they're not like super popular characters, so you kind of needed like some good word of mouth, and then the fact that like they're kind of like not unknown characters but like uncared about characters, combined with like everyone before the movie coming out telling you it was garbage, like they just kind of doomed it early on right there.
Yeah, the movie doomed itself because it was a movie no one asked for, and then a movie that is completely botched, like it didn't know what it wanted to be. All these factors played into the the movie's failure. I mean, 11 million, that is atrocious.
Yeah, like, for a Friday.
Yeah, for a Friday. Like, I don't think this is gonna, like they said, no Marvel, no Marvel Studios movie and no Marvel franchise movie has made less than 30 million. This is gonna make way less than 30 million.
You know what's crazy is that Stan Lee wasn't in it either.
He wasn't.
He's like, I ain't touching this shit.
Now, see, okay, if they make maybe half of the budget, which they won't. Probably won't. I think they'll probably just make another one.
I don't think so. I really don't see that happening. It's like no one wants this thing anymore. It's tainted. 3 movies in a row that are essentially critically panned. Like at least the first 2 made
even the
money.
third X-Men was garbage, and like it kind of made money, but it was like everyone.
Not kind of. That movie made a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, but everyone knew it was garbage.
It was garbage, but the thing is, you gotta don't think like a regular person. Think like a studio executive. Hey, this movie made us money. Let's make another one. Hey, this movie didn't make us money. We're not going to make another one. It's simple logic. These people are not complicated. Manny, you know about this. You know how these people are. Very simple. Like, okay, this movie didn't make us money. No sequel. That's how they think. And I don't think Marvel's going to be like, hey, we're going to buy it off. Marvel's going to be like, okay, we're just going to buy it our time. Go ahead, make a sequel. Fox is not going to make a sequel. It would be, they would see it as they're wasting their money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I expect this to come to Marvel, and now let's speculate on that since we just got to fill up time now. There's not again, people. There's not much to say about this fucking movie.
No.
It's bad. This is what I think is going to happen, and I told Manny this last night when we were walking home. I think what's going to happen is they're not going to have a Fantastic Four. Marvel's not going to have a Fantastic Four movie right away. What they're going to do is they're going to have those characters. They're going to do the same thing they're doing with the comics. They're going to sprinkle those characters around in movies. You're going to have the Thing show up in one movie. You're going to have Mr. Fantastic in another. You're going to have all these characters sprinkled around. And then if people like them, they'll be like, hey, here's a movie without fucking need of an origin story. Because remember, they can't just squish a Fantastic Four movie into Phase 3. That's already set in stone. And again, no one cares about Fantastic Four.
By the time Phase 3 is out,
that's when the rights will revert back.
Yeah, so I mean, it depends. Like I was telling you yesterday, I think that the fact that Marvel doesn't have a lot of these franchises is kind of a good thing because it lets other like obscure characters get movies made out of them. Like if Marvel started out with X-Men and Fantastic Four, we would have never seen Guardians of the Galaxy, or we probably would have never seen a Doctor Strange movie or like stuff like that. So it's not a terrible thing that they never had these rights or that they might not get them.
That's not bad at all. But at the same time, Fox is the only franchise they get right is X-Men, or at least the only franchise they make money with consistently is X-Men. So that's the only one that people flock to. Daredevil didn't work, Ghost Rider didn't work, Elektra didn't work, all this shit.
I still think that Fox would try and strike a deal like Sony has before just never making another movie.
They're not gonna. The thing is, Spider-Man is a character Marvel wanted. They were willing to pay $2 billion.
Yeah.
Marvel's not gonna be willing to pay that kind of money for Fantastic Four.
Honestly, just because of the relationship that Fox and Marvel have is so like, I don't want to say toxic, but it's pretty contentious.
Yeah.
Like if Marvel was canceling like action figures for X-Men, they canceled the Fantastic Four comics. Like they were actively trying to like make Fox like make bad stuff and like just have them get no type of PR. So I don't know if Fox will just like willingly just be like, all right, we're not going to make a movie. Let they win.
No, but it's not. But the thing is, again, you got to think like an executive. They have this franchise that's not making them money. They're not going to keep it just to spite another one or lose more money just to spite another company.
Right. Well, when do we have until 2021 now? Before they have to make another one?
Yeah, they have to make one by 2020. Yeah, or at least start producing one by 2021. Exactly.
Well, see, can't they just?
And they can't make a series because they don't have the rights to make a series.
They don't.
Can't they just announce that they're going to do a movie and then basically stall it on their own?
No, they can't.
Like
they have to
start production, and then
they have to start. They have to start production. If they don't start production, those rights revert back. That's how the clause is. They have to start production on the movie. That's why this movie they started production on it 3 years ago. They didn't start production on it now because the rights were going to revert back 3 years ago.
Right. I think they'll probably. I don't know. They'll probably try something to keep the rights before. I mean, you could be very right, and they could just easily like let them lapse back to Marvel. But I think they'll try something before they do that. Whether that be like maybe trying to boost like DVD sales or trying to boost something, or like maybe X-Men and Deadpool will make enough money that they can be like, guys, we could float another Fantastic Four real quick.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I think it's either one or two scenarios. One, they're just not going to bother with it, and the rights will revert back to Marvel, or they'll sell it to Marvel at a discount. That's it. Because remember, they want to make money at the end of the day. Primarily, they want to make money. You have to see it that way. So
it'll be interesting because
we're gonna spend $120 million again on a movie that's gonna make us $20 million. That's not gonna happen, dude.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that the Fantastic Four have, they kind of like cut out of the MCU, right? Like a lot of the factors of the Fantastic Four.
No. Ironically enough, when Marvel comes back, after Secret Wars, the Fantastic Four are still there. They're just in different teams now. Like, ironically enough, Ben Grimm is in Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, I mean like how in the MCU it's like there's no mutants, it's like they're the Inhumans or whatever they're gonna call them. Like, is there anything in
MCU? Yeah, I know what you mean.
Is there anything that like the Fantastic Four have done that the MCU had to change because they didn't have the rights?
It's not that they don't have the rights. They can put it in there as much as possible, but it's more of a power play than anything. Like,
Yeah,
we don't want to mention these things that are normally Fantastic Four things.
Yeah, like
well, no, I mean,
because
like
the
they
moment-
couldn't call
also-
them mutants, and they couldn't like reference Magneto and stuff because
Well, no, it's more of the fact that any new content that they make within X-Men or Fantastic Four automatically becomes something that Fox can use, and they don't want them to use anything. So that's why they're just
right.
I think Nash is
I'm
trying
asking
to ask,
okay, like you know how mutants exist in Fox in X-Men, right, and in Marvel also, but Marvel can't use the terms, like they can't call them mutants, they can't reference Magneto, they can't do all that stuff because they're owned by someone else. They can't do it in the movies. They can do it in the comics all they want. No, I'm talking strictly the movies.
Oh, okay.
Is there anything in the movies that they've changed because they couldn't use the Fantastic Four?
Inhumans is one, because remember, Inhumans made their debut in Fantastic Four. They changed their origin around. They changed the whole thing with Black Panther and Wakanda. That was a Fantastic Four thing. Ronan the Accuser, they changed that too to fit with all their stuff. But the thing is, these characters became part of the Marvel, larger Marvel universe. So they kind of got away from Fantastic Four. The only thing they can't use the Negative Zone. They can't use Galactus, and they can't use Silver Surfer. And I was going to say they can use Namor, but that's because Namor is actually owned by Universal still, which is weird. So, yeah.
I don't know. I wonder what their contract's like, because they probably don't even care.
They've been sitting on Namor.
Yeah, how do they get to sit on Namor with the rights reverting back? What are they
Marvel
doing?
probably doesn't even care.
Yeah, but I mean, Namor would be cool, like a whole Atlantis thing.
Well, they already got the Aquaman shit, so essentially Namor is Aquaman.
Yeah, pretty much.
Actually, Namor's a better Aquaman because he's actually a badass. He's not some Actually, the funny thing is Namor came before Aquaman.
Yeah. Well, they're relatively the same character.
Basically, they're both kings of Atlantis. Except one is a guy gets a goody two shoes, and the other one's fucking crazy.
Aquaman's pretty cool, I think. They made him pretty cool in the New 52.
Yeah, New 52 was cool, but old school Aquaman,
right?
With the fish and stuff. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. There's not much else to say. I will say I cannot recommend this movie to anyone unless you're like a mega Fantastic Four fan. I'm just being completely honest. Hey, Tony, should I go see it? No, no, you don't need to. I can't recommend it. It's a bad movie. There was some good stuff in it, but it wasn't a movie that...
I would say probably wait until the day where movie tickets are like Tuesdays, where they're like ultra cheap movie tickets.
Yeah, I guess in that case, but I don't know. Any final thoughts?
Not really. It's unfortunate that this film was kind of went the way it did. I mean, I did get the feeling of when we went to see Ghost Rider, though.
Oh, man.
Or was it Elektra? I can't remember.
It was both of them. But the thing is, with those movies, we knew it was going to be bad. With this one, we weren't 100% sure. We just heard that it was bad.
Right.
Because we both saw the trailers, and we're like, hey, it looks cool. With those ones, like, Ghost Rider's going to suck. Like, we knew it was going to be bad. And we went anyway.
Not a fan of Nick Cage, man?
It's not that I'm not a fan of Nick Cage. It's just that movie was shit. It was bad. Oh,
hey, man, one man's trash is the next man's treasure, right? Fantastic Four's trash is Deadpool's treasure.
Maybe. I want to find that one dude that his favorite movie is Ghost Rider. All right? That'd be a very interesting person to interview. All right, so let's wrap this shit up. So thank you for watching and listening, all that jazz. I don't have my show notes in front of me. Throwdown Show at Throwdown Show on Twitter. We're on Facebook and all that other stuff. Links are available down there.
Also,
should we tease it, Manny, or do we? I should say that. Yeah.
Yeah, make sure to listen. Listen to Throw Down Your Questions, which is happening tomorrow.
Yes.
And also, we're gonna have a special guest. We're gonna have Yang Ye on the Throwdown next week. So make sure you guys listen to that. It's gonna be some crazy stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Episode 47, Yang Ye. It's gonna be really cool. All right, so that's it. So once again, I was your host Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
Nothing is left, only doom.
And yes, and Anthony Nash.
Good night, everybody.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Later.